Good afternoon and good evening from Mission Control in Houston and the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center. At this hour, a shift handover is in progress as the Orbit 3 team is coming on console to take over the rest of the crew's workday on board the International Space Station and to prepare for the opening of the hatch between the Soyuz MS-24 spacecraft and the Rassvet module of the International Space Station. Several hours ago, in fact 5 hours and 1 minute ago, the 70S crew, the Soyuz MS-24 crew of Loral O'Hara, Oleg Kononenko, and Nikolai Chub lifted off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on their Soyuz 2.1A booster. They reached orbit less than 9 minutes later, deployed their solar arrays and navigational antennas, and then embarked on 3 hours and 9 minutes of transit for a docking to the Rassvet module that occurred at 1:53 p.m. Central Time, 2:53 p.m. Eastern Time. Here in Mission Control, again, the Orbit 3 team is coming on console. The Orbit 2 team that was here overseeing the launch and docking phase of today's activities has been led by Chris Dobbins, the flight director. Zeb Scoville is coming on console to take over the Orbit 3 team, which will take care of the hatch opening, a mandatory and routine ISS safety briefing for the newly arrived trio of crew members on the International Space Station, and then we'll begin to preside over the crew moving into its pre-sleep period and a sleep period that will extend into Saturday morning. Across the ocean at the Russian Mission Control Center in the town of Korolyov outside of Moscow, Russian flight controllers are working to coordinate the final series of leak checks at the docking interface between the Soyuz spacecraft and the Rassvet module. Those leak checks got underway about 2 hours ago as the three crew members who arrived at the station, Loral O'Hara, Oleg Kononenko, and Nikolai Chub, took off their Sokol launch and entry suits to allow them to dry out following their ride to orbit and their 3-hour transit to the International Space Station. They have now changed into more comfortable flight clothing and are conducting their leak checks as the technical specialists are waiting for the pressure to be equalized on both sides of the docking interface before the vestibule, the small passageway between the Soyuz hatch and the Rassvet module, can be equalized and pressurized to enable the hatches to swing open. We expect that hatch opening to take place at about 4:10 p.m. Central Time, 5:10 p.m. Eastern Time. The Soyuz hatch, first the Rassvet hatch will be opened, then the Soyuz hatch. The three crew members will float inside, move into the Zvezda service module, put on headsets, and accept congratulatory comments and remarks from spacecraft communicator Jessica Meir here in Mission Control in Houston, and Russian officials that are gathered on the balcony of the Russian Control Center in Korolyov. You see that balcony shot there. So we are expecting those congratulatory remarks, essentially a welcoming ceremony, if you will, somewhere in the neighborhood of 4:30 p.m. Central Time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, the three crew members who launched and docked to the space station today, Loral O'Hara of NASA, on your left, Oleg Kononenko, the Soyuz commander, in the center, and Nikolai Chub, first-time flyer from Roscosmos, on your right. This was O'Hara's first flight into space, as it was for Chub. For Kononenko, his fifth flight into space. Kononenko and Chub are embarking on a one-year mission aboard the International Space Station that will result in Kononenko coming home a year from now with almost or in the neighborhood of about 1,100 days in space, far outstripping Gennady Padalka of the mantle of most time in space by a human being that he has held for a number of years. Kononenko, in surpassing 1,000 days in space and approaching the neighborhood of about 1,100 days in space, will have more than 200 days in space, more than Gennady Padalka when he comes home with Chub on Soyuz MS-25. That will take place next September. O'Hara will spend 6 months on the International Space Station. She will come home on the Soyuz MS-24 spacecraft with Oleg Novitsky and Belarus researcher Marina Vasilevskaya, who will be launching next spring along with NASA's Tracy Dyson on a taxi flight to bring the new MS-25 spacecraft up to the station. So O'Hara will come home on the same spacecraft that she launched on, except with different crewmates.
I will send it at 23:51. Yes, set it for 1 minute after.
As mentioned a moment or two ago, the flight of O'Hara, Kononenko, and Chub began 5 hours, 6 minutes ago at 10:44 and 35 seconds a.m. Central Time, 8:44 p.m. at the launch site of the Baikonur Cosmodrome as the Soyuz 2.1A came to life. Engine start was perfect. The turbo pumps came up to flight speed, and liftoff occurred right on the money, with the Soyuz lifting off and arcing out to the northeast over the Central Asian desert. About a minute and 10 seconds after launch, the Soyuz rocket passed through the period of maximum dynamic pressure, going supersonic at that point. 1 minute 58 seconds after launch, the first stage engines shut down, and the solid strap-on boosters were separated from the rest of the vehicle. The second stage engines continued to drive the Soyuz spacecraft uphill. They shut down at about the 4 minute 58 second mark. The third stage engines continued the job as the Soyuz continued its trek uphill into its preliminary orbit. 8 minutes and 45 seconds after launch, the third stage engines shut down. The Soyuz spacecraft separated from the third stage, deployed its solar arrays and navigational antennas, and the Soyuz began the chase to catch up to the International Space Station.
Station Moscow, on space to ground 2. So we're waiting for the passive side of the hatch opening.
All of the rendezvous maneuvers and thruster firings from the Soyuz were executed in flawless fashion, and the Soyuz approached the neighborhood of the International Space Station about 3 hours after launch. In this view of the Soyuz from external cameras on the International Space Station, it was a totally automated approach. All of the Soyuz systems operated in excellent shape, and the final phase of the rendezvous following a fly-around of the Soyuz was conducted with no issues whatsoever. The final approach command was given, and the Soyuz slowly but surely closed the gap between itself and the station, finally docking to the Rassvet module at a speed of about 1/10 of a meter per second, with the docking occurring over Ukraine south of Kyiv at 1:53 p.m. Central Time, 2:53 p.m. Eastern Time. This replay shows the final approach and the final few feet before docking, with contact and capture occurring as planned. That was followed by the docking probe being retracted to pull the two docking surfaces flush against one another, allowing hooks to close on both sides of the docking interface to form a hard mate.
About the transfer hatches, which steps need to be taken? On your go, when you're ready. Hold on a minute. I can't.
So again, the launch and docking went as smooth as can be expected. No issues whatsoever. One of the smoothest crew launches for a Soyuz vehicle in recent memory, with no technical issues having had to be worked by the Soyuz crew, and no issues on final approach and docking that culminated a 3-hour, 9-minute trip for Kononenko, Chub, and Loral O'Hara. The leak checks are continuing, the pressure checks at the docking interface, as the crews on both sides of the docking interface, Dmitry Petelin on the Rassvet side, the station side of the docking interface, and Kononenko and Chub on the Soyuz side, are in the process of checking out their vehicle systems, making sure that we have the correct pressure equalization to enable the hatch to open and allow the 3 new arrivals to board the International Space Station. There is a view of the newly arrived Soyuz vehicle docked to the Rassvet module with the Northrop Grumman Cygnus spacecraft on the right of your screen, and on the left of your screen is the Nyoka multipurpose laboratory module. And just out of the field of view atop the Prishal module, the node module docking port, is the Soyuz MS-23 vehicle that will be the ride home in 12 days on September 27th for the station commander Sergei Prokopyev, Dmitry Petelin, and NASA's Frank Rubio, who are wrapping up a 371-day mission aboard the International Space Station, which for Rubio sets a record for the longest single spaceflight by an American astronaut in history.
Yes, you need to take note of it. And by 1 second. There will be 7 items. Can you take note so I can take it from you?
And there's a view inside the Rassvet module at the hatchway to the Soyuz MS-24 spacecraft. On the other side of that hatch is the Soyuz. Dmitry Petelin will soon begin the procedures to open up that hatch, followed by Kononenko opening up the hatch on his side of the docking interface to the Soyuz itself. Again, the crew, the 3 crew members who just arrived at the station will float inside. There'll be, I'm sure, hugs and handshakes between themselves and the current 7 crew members on board the station, the Expedition 69 crew, Sergei Prokopyev, Dmitry Petelin, Konstantin Borisov, Jasmine Mogbelli, and Frank Rubio, and Satoshi Furukawa, the JAXA astronaut, and Andy Mogensen, the European Space Agency astronaut. That's your 7 crew members on board the station at the moment, soon to expand to a crew of 10 with the opening of the hatch to the Soyuz spacecraft that's expected in the next few minutes or so.
Deactivate gas analyzers. Item 4.5, do not perform. Item 4.5 is no execute. Item 4.5, we will not execute. Execute the purification cartridge swap in the ESA for item 4.3.
Так, еще раз, патрон очистки ИСа.
Purification cartridge in the ESA, page 35, item 4.3.
35, пункт 4.3. Записал.
Okay, item 4.3. P1. Swap for P3.
Записал.
I got it. Okay, next is item 4. A transfer from MRM-1 to the BO of Soyuz 755. From MRM-1 to BO. What should I?
And at 3:59 p.m. Central Time, 4:59 p.m. Eastern Time, the station hatch, the Rassvet module hatch on the side of the docking interface, is now open.
Barcode number.
Dmitry Petelin, Sergei Prokopyev are working the procedures now to make sure that everything is in order on their side of the docking interface, while the Soyuz crew, that's Konstantin Borisov now on the right, to make sure that everything is in order to allow Kononenko, Chub, and O'Hara to open up the Soyuz hatch so that they can float inside.
710.
30700.
000 710 81R.
1R.
1R. So 0007108.
Sergei Prokopyev in the field of view, the station commander.
Okay, I confirm.
Wrapping up, along with Frank Rubio and Dmitry Petelin, a 371-day mission He'll be handing over station command to Andy Mogensen of the European Space Agency in a change of command ceremony on September 26th on the eve of the departure of Rubio, Prokopiev, and Patelin.
Same one, or is
Ready
it
a little bit earlier.
same one from
And we're going to have our
Okay, upload. I marked the band number 19 speaking simultaneously.
And a great view there of the newly arrived Soyuz MS-24 that functioned perfectly during its ride to the International Space Station,
Got it.
well, just
launching 5 hours and 16 minutes ago from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan.
and CSS is going to be at 2132.
So TTK 754 hands them over for drive.
Just don't be afraid, guys. Don't freak out. I'm going to see you on the screens first.
Item 6. Okay, I got it. Wrote it down. Item 5. Hand over species number 3 to Ferdinand in the Soyuz 754. In the bill, set up block number 2. It's located number 1. Set it up in the bill of Soyuz vehicle 755 in the bill of
The station crew will be testing out some communications gear here in a few minutes to be used for the welcoming remarks that are planned inside the Zvezda service module once the 3 new crew members for Expedition 69 board the vehicle a short time from now. Expedition 69 will come to an end, and Expedition 70 will begin officially with the undocking of Prokopiev, Patelin, and Rubio in the wee hours of September 27th.
So I'm going to open KKT. Yes, so okay, KKT open. I'm opening KVD. KVD is open.
The International Space Station is currently flying 260 miles over the heart of Australia, moving from northwest to southeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator.
04 and decreasing. Copy. Current pressure is 800. Copy.
Station Moscow on Space Ground 2. Guys, just an FYI, you are on the large screen, and everybody can see you right now.
Какой на станции было? 740? Да.
746 was the pressure on board the station.
Давление в орбитальном блоке 746.
Yes, in the pressure in the orbital compartment is 746. Current pressure is 790.
Антон, дальше я по 72-ю страницу выполняю, да?
Да, по 72-й странице, перед переходом.
So, prior to going into the onboard compartment, execute the steps. So when I'm going to Okay, when I'm going to perform all the previous steps, I'll complete those. You need to deactivate all the COM assets, turn off the atmosphere purification unit in the BO. Well, the guys are going to be waiting for me.
Текущее давление
780 is the current pressure. Copy. 780.
Заряд iPad 25%.
iPad charge status is 25%. 775.
Семь
770.
This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, we're in the final phase of the leak checks and pressure checks on the Soyuz side of the docking interface at the Rassvet module of the International Space Station. A good view right there of the Soyuz MS-23 spacecraft, or 24 spacecraft, I should say, that arrived at the station with docking at 1:53 p.m. Central Time, 2:53 p.m. Eastern.
765.
Принято 765.
765.
The station hatch, as you can see there on the interface with the Soyuz, was opened about 7 or 8 minutes ago. But the key will be the opening of the Soyuz hatch, which we're expecting soon, as Kononenko, Chub, and O'Hara complete the leak checks and the pressure equalization on their side of the docking interface. Welcoming remarks by the newly arrived crew and congratulatory remarks from spacecraft communicator Jessica Meir here in Mission Control, and Russian officials gathered at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov are expected around the bottom of the hour.
Семь
755.
The leak checks and pressure measurements still being taken on the Soyuz side of the docking interface. Again, the Soyuz crew launched at 10:44 a.m. Central Time this morning from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. They launched into a express lane fast-track 2-orbit rendezvous profile that enabled them to dock 3 hours and 9 minutes after launch at 1:53 p.m. Central Time, 2:53 p.m. Eastern Time.
Семь
753.
And this view now shows the complement of vehicles on the Earth-facing side of the station. At the far left, docked to the Prishal module, is the Soyuz MS-23 spacecraft that was launched unpiloted in February to replace the vehicle that Frank Rubio, Dmitry Petelin, and Sergei Prokopyev launched on a year ago, that experienced a coolant leak back in December and came home in February unpiloted. The Soyuz MS-23 that is docked on the far left side of your station will be the ride home for Rubio, Prokopyev, and Petelin on September 27th when they undock from the Persal module and land under their parachute on the steppe of Kazakhstan to complete 371 days in space, and for Rubio, of course, the longest single space flight in U.S. history. Back now at the Russian Mission Control Center with a view from the balcony camera in Korolyov outside of Moscow as we continue to wait for the pressure checks on board to be completed and to allow the Soyuz hatch to swing open and allow the 3 newly arrived crew members to float inside and join their crew members in the Zvezda service module for the welcoming remarks.
749.
Семь, четыре, девять.
749. Nikolai, can you set the timer for 1 or 2 minutes?
Нет, пошел падать.
748.
Station Commander Sergei Prokopiev in the Rassvet module at the docking interface with the Soyuz spacecraft. The station hatch is open, now awaiting the opening of the Soyuz hatch.
748.
Минута прошла, нет. Прошла минута 15.
1 minute 15 elapsed. Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute has gone by? Yes.
Уже почти
Almost a minute and a half.
прошло 2 минуты.
2 minutes have elapsed.
4-7, Москва.
MCC Moscow. The pressure is stable over 2 minutes. Continue your steps. Open KKT, close KVD. KKT is closed. Item 8.1. Yes, I confirm.
8.1, открытие крышки люка БО СУ-72 конец.
Inaudible. I have set in the key.
Открываю.
Opening. Opening.
Отжал.
I have released it. Opening the hatch.
And the Soyuz hatch is now open.
Oh, have you been waiting for us for so long? It can't be.
Чего? Сейчас мы доделаем, Серег.
Dr. Gable, just finish it in a minute.
Сейчас сначала перворазка выпустим.
We're going to let the first timers in. Okay, hatch is open. We see the hatch is open simultaneously. So should we translate in the station? Yes, go ahead.
The Soyuz hatch opened at 4:16 p.m. Central Time, 5:16 Eastern.
Close it, but leave it a little bit ajar and then complete all our steps. Just turn off duplex comm line. Speaking simultaneously. Well, as soon as you translate there, I won't be able to hear you. So N2, N4. So right now, let me set the cap. So then we're going to perform the atmosphere purification. Okay. Let us complete all the steps and then we'll go into the station. Setting the SU plug. Do you have it?
Да.
Okay.
Протирки. Ручку герметизации.
The sewing handle.
Отвертка КСД.
KSD, maybe KSD screwdriver here. Is the KSD plug here?
Sergei Prokopyev and Oleg Kononenko across the hatch to the Soyuz spacecraft, talking about the collection of tools to be brought inside. Again, the Soyuz hatch was opened at 4:16 p.m. Central, 5:16 p.m. Eastern Time.
Как слышишь?
Слышу, принимаю заглушку, установили.
So I copy that you have set in the plug. I am taking out of the same container.
Крышку.
I'm taking the cover from the same container.
Так. Достал крышку и отключаю блоки очистки.
I have pulled out the cover and I am getting out the scrapping units for the bill copy.
И надеваю.
And I am donning
This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, you're looking at Station Commander Sergei Prokopyev in the Rassvet module. Hatch is between the station and the newly arrived Soyuz MS-24, now open. The Soyuz hatch opening at 4:16 p.m. Central, 5:16 p.m. Eastern Time. Some 5.5 hours or so following the Soyuz crew's launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome.
I turned off the Purification unit. I put in the plug. So we're going to turn off Bear 14. Bear 14, and then I'm going to go into the station. Okay, congratulations on successful docking and have a good flight. Thank you, Anton. Thank you. Okay, and I'm out. Okay, I'm out.
Once the newly arrived crew members come on board, they will move into the Zvezda service module for welcoming remarks. That'll be followed by a routine safety briefing that will be conducted by Prokopiev for the newly arrived crew members. That safety briefing basically points out routes and the various modules of the station that the crew can move around in, and what would be required in the unlikely event the crew members would have to evacuate the station on short notice. Later this evening, Oleg Kononenko and Nikolai Chub will complete the deactivation of station systems and Soyuz systems. Those Soyuz systems that will be in a caretaker state while the spacecraft is linked to the International Space Station will be deactivated later this evening. Loral O'Hara on board the International Space Station. Followed by Nikolai Chub. Oleg Kononenko following the two first-time flyers into the International Space Station, and the population of the station has now grown to 10. You're looking at Dmitry Petelin in the foreground, along with Frank Rubio on the left, Sergei Prokopiev in the back. Those three will begin a handover period with O'Hara, Chub, and Kononenko en route to their return to Earth on September 27th. And with the crew members now on board the station, there's a view of the Soyuz MS-24 spacecraft docked to the Rassvet module. The crew now on board the station. They will be moving into the Zvezda service module momentarily for welcoming remarks, followed by a safety briefing that will be conducted by Prokopiev to basically run down some of the emergency procedures that are typical and routine for a newly arrived crew. Later this evening, Kononenko and Chub will be deactivating the Soyuz systems to put the Soyuz on a caretaker state, if you will, on station power.
Moscow station on space to ground 1. Go ahead on space to ground 1. Anton, so we have moved over to the service module and we're turning on the equipment. So TV session will be on ISS and it's going to be in 6 minutes. First, we're going to do the comm check. And if the comm is stable, I'm going to hand you over to all the dignitaries. Sounds good.
And the crew now tenfold in the Zvezda service module. Expedition 69 in full tow as we await the comm checks and welcoming remarks by the crew.
Guys, we're seeing you on the MPEG. Oleg, Nikolai, Loral, congratulations. You're looking so good. All right, guys, we've got 4 minutes. So for the next 4 minutes, there will be no comm via mic, and we will not be able to hear you, just as an FYI.
So the crew, all 10 of them on board the Zvezda service module following the opening of the hatch to the Soyuz spacecraft just a few minutes ago at 4:16 p.m. Central Time. We are awaiting the station passing in range of Russian ground stations here to enable the comm to sync up and get us going with the start of the welcoming remarks. In the back row, from left to right, Andy Mogensen, Frank Rubio, Dmitry Patelin, Jasmine Mogbeli, and Satoshi Furukawa. Konstantin Borisov on the left in the front row, along with Nikolai Chub, Sergei Prokopiev, Oleg Kononenko, and in the far right in the front row, Loral O'Hara. And we're being advised that the comm should be linked up in about 2.5 minutes. The voice comm with the video that you're seeing. So we should be getting underway just about 2 minutes from now. Once again, we're standing by for the voice communications to sync up with the video that we're seeing. We should be getting underway here momentarily.
Ребят, буквально двухминутная готовность.
Stand by for 2 more minutes.
In 2 minutes, we will start.
МКС Chub Москвы, канале 6С. Как меня слышно?
Station Moscow, ISS. How do you read me?
Ребят, как меня слышно? 6С?
Guys, how do you copy me on broadband communication system?
Сергей, видим, что ты пытаешься что-то сказать, но мы...
Sergey, you are trying to say something, but unfortunately there is no sound.
Раз, два, три.
1, 2, 3, com check.
По ШСС.
Here, ISS. Now we copy you loud and clear.
Ребят, слышу вас хорошо. Хорошо слышно, верно?
How do you copy us?
Да, слышим вас.
Yes, we copy you loud and clear as well.
Я передаю вам руководство.
Then, I'm giving the mic to the management. Guys, how do you copy?
Как вы нас слышите? Владимир Алексеевич, еще раз добрый
Vladimir Alexeyevich,
день, добрый вечер.
hello.
Хорошо слышим.
Once again, good evening. We copy you loud and clear. I'm so happy that you have reached the station.
Очень симпатичная команда.
It's a wonderful, good-looking crew.
У меня большое пожелание, кто первый раз оказался.
So for those who are first-timers, my best wishes to you.
Работайте спокойно.
Work, do whatever you need to do on the station, and everything will be fine, I'm sure.
Я хочу предоставить слово Дмитрию Алексеевичу Калашникову.
I'm giving the mic to Dmitry Kalashnikov.
Вопросы решает.
He would like to say a few words.
Вопросы решает.
He is the main person who solves all the issues. So Dmitry will talk to you.
Я Диме отдаю.
Спасибо, Владимир Алексеевич.
Thank you, Vladimir Alexeyevich, so much for your kind words.
Теперь экипаж в новом составе.
So now you have
Группа управления.
added crew.
Группа управления.
So all the control team is happy that you are on board the station. And we wish you all the very best, very efficient work on the station. And those who are to prepare for the landing, we are expecting you on the ground very soon. We are ready, actually, we are ready long ago. Yes, we know that. Dmitry Alexeyevich, thank you so much. Once again, my congratulations. Good luck to you all. And all the very best from all of us.
Спасибо большое. Ну, может быть, пару слов.
Thank you. Maybe Nikolai will say a few words.
Хотелось бы поприветствовать
I would like
главную оперативную
to
группу.
greet all the ground control team.
Знакомые, работали в сменах.
I knew many of those people who are on console. I worked with them on shift. So thank you so much. Our thanks from space now to you.
Николай, вы знаете нашу работу изнутри, поэтому...
Nikolai, you know our work from inside out, so to say. I think we will have full cooperation with you while you're on board.
Еще раз спасибо.
Thank you so much for everything from Loral.
Передаем трубочку нашим гостям.
Okay, now our guests here will talk to you. Your friends and family members.
С тобой, да,
Loral and Nikolai, enjoy settling into your new home.
Привет, я вас вижу.
Welcome back.
Рад вас видеть.
Hello, I can see you. I'm happy to see you.
Всем привет. So excited to follow along with your mission.
Greetings to everyone.
Congratulations to the entire ISS crew and to all of the ground teams around the world that enabled this extraordinary event. Congratulations.
Спасибо большое. Thanks a lot.
Да, сейчас я понял, просто был какой-то текст на английском языке. Привет, да, я вас вижу.
Yes, hello. There was some English conversation. Everything is fine. I can see you.
Я вас только вижу с правой стороны.
I can see you on the right there.
Очень рады за всех.
We are happy for everyone.
Всех поздравляем.
Congratulations, everyone, with your arrival on board the station.
Очень удачного возвращения.
And of course, we wish the crew who is preparing to go back to the ground, we wish you all the very best and very successful return.
Спасибо большое, да, мы скоро их проводим, они уже...
Thank you so much. Yes, we will see them off very soon. They are ready. Thank you.
Ребят, мы вас сейчас переключаем на ЦУП Хьюстона.
Guys, MCC Houston will talk to you from now on.
Да, хорошо, мы ждем тогда, не расходимся.
We are standing by. Then we are still here.
Вот, еще нам машут.
Yeah, we can see people are waving us.
All of Houston is wishing you a very pleasant evening. Pretty exciting with 3 turtles up there now. It's a bale once again. So enjoy your overlap and have an incredible time up there with your crew. Enjoy your overlap and have an incredible time up there with your crew. We're loving seeing all those smiles up there. We're loving seeing all those smiles up there.
Yeah, thank you. It's incredible to be here. It was a beautiful launch. It was a beautiful flight. The only thing better than seeing the Earth for the first time and seeing Space Station for the first time was coming through the hatch and seeing all these guys here. So thank you.
Say hello.
just in case. Hey, Jessica, thanks so much. And it is absolutely awesome to have all these turtles up here. Thank you to the NASA team and the Roscosmos team for getting Soyuz 70 up here with us. And we look forward to spending the next week showing them around. And we know they're going to have a fantastic mission.
Excited faces here in Houston, in the visitors room, watching as well, and sending all of their support and love. Have a great evening, guys.
Thank you so much.
Все, на этом у нас репортаж закончился. Огромное спасибо.
Guys, we completed our coverage. Please
огромные молодцы. Счастливые, довольные.
Put all the assets to initial condition, and we can see that you're happy, and thank you so much, and goodbye.
This is Mission Control Houston. You just heard some of the welcoming remarks by the newly arrived crew members on board the International Space Station, the Soyuz MS-24 crew that launched this morning just about 6 hours ago at 10:44 a.m. Central Time, 11:44 a.m. Eastern Time, arriving at the station for a docking to the Rassvet module 3 hours, 9 minutes later at 1:53 p.m. Central, 2:53 p.m. Eastern Time. The leak checks between the Soyuz and the International Space Station were ongoing. About 2 hours after docking, everything was in good shape, so the hatches finally were opened. The Soyuz hatch opening at 4:16 p.m. Central Time, 5:16 p.m. Eastern Time, enabling Oleg Kononenko, Loral O'Hara, and Nikolai Chub to float on board and join their Expedition 69 crewmates, increasing the station population to 10 crew members for the next 12 days. A good view of the Soyuz MS-24 that functioned in flawless fashion from launch to docking, bringing to the International Space Station Kononenko, Chub, and O'Hara. Kononenko and Chub beginning 1 year on the International Space Station, Loral O'Hara beginning a 6-month stay on the International Outpost. So with that, we'll wrap up our coverage for today. Thanks for being with us throughout the course of the day for the launch, docking, and arrival on board the station of Oleg Kononenko, Loral O'Hara, and Nikolai Chub. This is Mission Control Houston.